named after the famous Swedish musical sensation Jenny Lind. The Jenny Lind type locomotive was one of the most popular and, it has to be said, prettiest of Victorian locomotive design. Jenny Lind, the locomotive, not the singer, was designed by David Joy of Leeds in West Yorkshire. Born in 1825, Joy was the fifth son of a well-to-do Leeds oil merchant, whom family traditions say supplied oil for the rocket at the Rainhill trials. Finding the family oil business not to his liking, David was apprenticed to Fenton, Murray and Jackson of the Round Foundry in Leeds. The Round Foundry was the oldest locomotive building firm in the business, having built the Blenkinsop and Murray type locomotives for the Middleton Railway in 1812. After completing his apprenticeship in March 1846, Joy went to work for the Railway Foundry, where by 1847 he was chief draftsman. Incidentally, the Railway Foundry had begun life in 1837 as Todd, Kitson and Laird, the builders of Lyon. Through several restructures, this company emerged in 1846 as E.B. Wilson and Company of Leeds. The firm had been approached to build 10 locomotives for the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway to the design of John Gray. John Gray was something of a maverick who in the 1830s had designed his own variable expansion valve gear called the horse's leg motion, and who had extolled the ideas of big wheels, high boiler pressures and high centres of gravity. This was at a time when most railway engineers were championing the benefits of a low centre of gravity, an idea developed ad absurdum with Trevithick's Cornwall. 12 locomotives to Gray's designs had been ordered for the London and Brighton Railway from Timothy Hackworth of Shildon, and they were delivered between 1846 and 1848. And this was an order which probably resulted in the demise of that firm. A further 10 were ordered from Wilson's in Leeds. The order for 10 Gray-type locomotives was swiftly countermanded, however, and Joy, together with his boss, James Fenton, developed their own design, the Jenny Lind, from Gray's original ideas. Joy wrote in his journal,
"My inoculation into Gray's ideas at once biased me in favour of that type. I had studied very well for 3 weeks, and had ferreted among all the types of engines on the Brighton Railway, and had ridden on most of them, with the idea to get a definite opinion of my own, which was best for big speeds. So, having a sheet of double elephant drawing paper mounted ready, I spent all my evenings at drawing any engine I could ever get outside dimensions of. I set to work and drew out with Gray tendencies a 10-foot 6-inch boiler, as big in diameter as I could get it. Cylinders 15 inches by 20 inches, drivers single and as far back as possible, 6 feet diameter. Inside frames, which must be made to carry the cylinders, the frames stopped at the firebox, so that the firebox was got as wide as the wheels would allow it. This, of ordinary length, gave 80 square foot of surface, and with 124 tubes, 2 inches diameter, gave a total of over 800 square foot. Then I put on the Gray's outside frames for leading and trailing wheels, 4 foot diameter, giving the bearings below, thus making a firm wheelbase with no overhanging weight. Cylinders and valves between, with ordinary then approved link motion, the steam dome on the middle of the boiler, and 2 safety valves on the firebox. On Monday morning I took my drawing to the foundry, and it was instantly and entirely approved, and I went to work on the details.
The resulting locomotive therefore had a large heating surface and, for the time, very high boiler pressure of 120 psi, delivering steam to a pair of cylinders 15 by 20 inches. As Joy records, there were 2 sets of iron plate frames, an inner frame between the smoke box and firebox supporting the cylinders and crank axle, and an outer set supporting the carrying wheels. The first 10 were delivered to the London and Brighton Railway in 1847, and they proved to be an immediate success. The first, number 60, was tried on the Midland Main Line from Leeds to Wakefield via Normanton, but on the return leg, due to firing problems, lost steam pressure and were very nearly run into by the Manchester mail train. Joy records in his journal that the Jenny Lind type was so successful that E.B. Wilson were building them at a rate of 1 per week, including a 240 version for working goods trains. The type were soon enlarged with a larger boiler and firebox to provide 1,000 square feet of heating surface, 6 feet 6 inch driving wheels and cylinders 16 by 22 inches. In total, 70 Jenny Linds were built, including the original 10 for the Brighton Railway, 24 for the Midland Railway, as well as for the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway to work their famous Woodhead route. In 1849, in fact, Hackworth turned out his own one-off version named Samparai 2. And indeed he challenged Robert Stevenson to a rematch of Rainhill using the best locomotive he could turn out. Wisely, Stevenson declined. Sadly, Samparai 2 failed to find any buyers. A much enlarged Jenny Lind type was later produced by Bio Peacock and Company of Gorton, Manchester, as one of their standard types, with examples being built for the Edinburgh and Glasgow Railway and the South Eastern Railway of Portugal. Sadly, no original Jenny Lind locomotives survive into preservation, and there don't appear to be plans to build a replica. However, there is a static replica in India, standing proudly outside Roorkee railway station, to commemorate the fact that, on the 22nd of December 1851, a member of the Jenny Lind class named Thomason or Thomson was the first steam locomotive to work in India. The Jenny Lind locomotive was a true success story. She was a right proper Leeds lass, and it could be said to be the first true class of standard mass-produced locomotives built to a consistent pattern. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and if you have, please leave a comment below. If you would like to gain early access to Rail Story content, you can do so via Patreon, for as little as a takeaway cup of coffee once per month. And I look forward to seeing you all next time on Rail Story.